with our radio show.
Reo, man, can you let us in on how you got into archery in the first place? When you was a kid, I guess?
Okay. Well, I kind of got into it with my dad. My dad was a professional archer and had shot for a lot of years, and so it was just kind of one of those things. And I shot a lot when I was younger, and some issues with the way I shot. So a little while later, I played some different sports growing up. When I was about 19, I decided I wanted to go to Vegas because that's where the biggest archery tournament in the world is, and I wanted to go shoot that. So, as a 19-year-old kid, that sounds like a fun idea. So I didn't get through that year, so I decided to shoot a little bit that whole year and get ready for it. That's kind of how I got started.
At what point did you decide to start entering major competitions?
It was kind of, Vegas was my first major big competition. I shot it in the open division, the amateur, and I won it the first time I entered. So it was kind of one of them deals that, you do really well, so you kind of think, well, what better can I do in the other division? But the only guy that really shot a higher score than me there was my dad, who won the pro division that year.
So what kind of distances are you guys shooting in these competitions?
Depends on which ones. Those were indoors, so we're looking at like 18 meters. That indoor stuff is it's head-to-head right there. You get to do your competitors are doing it. It can be really nerve-wracking and exciting. So,
do you consider yourself a natural, or was it totally from hard work and dedication?
I think I have a little natural ability, but I do a lot of hard work. And, to me, you look at all the sports and all the great athletes that have ever done anything, they all had a little natural talent, but ended up working themselves harder than, even a lot of the guys that had more natural ability. You're right. I'm one of them guys that if I'm not doing it, somebody else is.
What's the difference between a recurve and a compound? And what's the difference between the two, especially during competition?
A recurve has no let off, one string, kind of the traditional type deal. Like what you see in the Olympics is not as traditional as what most people think. A compound has a pulley system that allows you a little let off. And so in competition, the compound will shoot considerably higher scores. They're just more accurate.
I read on your website that up until last year, you could only compete as much as your regular job would allow you. How has your life changed now that you can focus 100% of your time towards, your family and also just preparing for competitions?
It's a lot. It's made a huge change in our life. I'm traveling a lot more, which, it has its disadvantage of being away from my family, but in turn I get to do a lot more competing. It kind of builds my name up more and makes me more valuable, more sponsors, stuff like that. So it's changed a lot. And it's nice that I don't have to fight with the boss about a day off or whether I was coming in late because the flight got delayed or anything like that. So it's made my world a lot nicer. Plus, what time I'm not up at work, I can spend with my family.
Yeah. Speaking of traveling, you travel to some pretty remote lands across the globe when competing. Do you enjoy the traveling aspect to it?
The traveling part, for the most part, when we're going to these events, we usually get to see the archery range and the hotel for the most part. You get to see a little bit around, but not a lot. We went to China the first time about 5 or 6 years ago, and you hear it's communist, you hear all these things, and it was really weird because my little brother went with me, and we're like, it really doesn't seem communist. There's KFC, there's McDonald's, there's all these restaurants that seem pretty American to me and everything like that. And the first thing we saw about their society was my little brother wanted to stay and shoot at the practice range a little longer, so the bus schedule had left. So I said, we'll just catch a cab back. So we started getting ready to catch the cab back, and we're sitting there. We tell the security guards at the front of the Olympic Training Center that we need a cab back. And he walks out and stops the cab in the middle of the road, and when he stops the cab, he kicks the guys out of cab for us to get in. And I was like, well, you don't need to kick him out. And my little brother looks and goes, the guy's got a gun. We need to get in that car. Somebody,
that's the one to be in.
Yeah, and somebody says, you're just higher in society because you're a world-class athlete. And so they will kick people out. And I'm like, wow, that's just crazy.
Well, how hard was it to get your bow in these countries, these different places you've been through customs? Was that a pre-done deal, or did they question you about what this weapon is?
For the most part, no, not really. We have equipment cases that fly on the planes with us, and so we don't really. The only time I've ever had anybody really in customs or anything really go crazy over it was I was coming out of Singapore about 2 years ago, and they're like, "What do you got in there?" And I said, "It's a bow and arrow." And the guy goes, "Like archery? Like you shoot people with?" I'm like, "No. It's just target equipment." And the guy looked at me real funny and was like, "Hey, I got to call state police. They got to come check this out."
Oh,
and I'm like, "Hey, really not a big deal, man." So I opened up a website on my phone and showed him I had won the tournament we were at. And he goes, "Oh, okay." So the state police come in and they looked at my phone and saw the same thing. Like, okay, so they checked it through. And I was leaving the country. So it wasn't like I had just got there. I was actually leaving. And so
you made it in okay. It was just kind of hard to leave.
Yeah, they were like, I guess it was a little late, but yeah, they were checking me out. So I really had problems. So
I mean, when you travel to these places, do you have a few days to prepare for competitions, or is it just get there and straight to the chase or whatever?
Some of them are straight to the chase. You know, I mean, I don't like to spend a lot of time sitting in a hotel and all that other stuff because you don't know what kind of practice facilities they'll have and that. So to me, most of the part is there and get ready. When we're doing stuff for the United States archery team, sometimes they'll fly us in a little early because they want good results. So they feel like they need to be there in a little more time, you know, changed and ready and everything like that. So just depends on the situation.
You know, is there a friendly rivalry? Getting tongue-tied here. A friendly rivalry in the sport of archery? You know, is there like trash talk amongst friends like other sports?
You know, it's really weird because there's a couple of guys that are really, I don't want to say cutthroat, but they would do anything in the world to knock a guy down. And then there's a bunch of guys that are really good shooters. They would do anything in the world to beat you on your best day. They would hand you their bow if they thought it would help you shoot better because they want to beat you on your best. So I wouldn't say there's any real trash talking, but there's some dislike and some discontent between certain guys, and there's a lot of respect and stuff for the majority of them.
You know, is the etiquette kind of like golf? You know, everybody stays real quiet, I guess, right before you shoot.
Yeah. A lot of similarities in that factor. I mean, we do shoot a team event where they get a little more noisy, and it's a little more. I mean, when you're right at the line and shooting, they try to be quiet, but as soon as you're outside, they get real rowdy and stuff like that. It's a fun round to watch. So.
You know, has there ever been any kind of like equipment malfunctions that cost you a match?
Yeah, I've had equipment problems. You do this long enough, you're gonna have everything will give you a little problem every now and then, and it's one of the things that just is frustrating at times. But you just gotta look at it and say, well, it's another shoot next week, and we'll get it packed up, ready, and get everything ready for the next week. So.
How big is archery in other countries as opposed to the United States?
You know what? Like France, it is huge. I would say in the United States, our USA Archery, which is our governing body, probably has somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 15 to 20,000 members. In the little country of France, I've been told that they have upwards of 95,000 members.
That's pretty big. But as far as competitions, do you like hunt as well?
When I get time. That's kind of where we started. My dad was a bow hunter and kind of got into that. And that way he shot a little tournament, beat some guys that he kind of surprised a bunch of people. And they're like, hey, you want to start doing this? And so some companies gave me some help. And that's kind of how my dad got started in it. So we do a little bow hunting when we get time. But for the most part, it's pretty much travel. In fact, my September, which is most of the hunt season in Idaho, I will be in Istanbul, Turkey. Not Istanbul, but Antalya, Turkey, and Paris, France.
Oh, wow. Do you do any trick shots or anything like that?
Not really. Just competitive shooting and stuff like that. I don't have a lot of luxuries of time to sit and play and figure that stuff out. We just mostly getting ready for competitions and everything on that level.
Have you ever shot blindfolded?
I have never shot blindfolded.
Randy, we've been talking about that. Like, he's so good. Wonder if he ever does anything like that. Like the trick shots, like you might see on like America's Got Talent or anything like that. No one got the nerve to stand up there with an apple on their head, right?
I want to see you shoot through a what do you call a lifesaver?
Not the right distance we can do her. I worked for UPS and they had a big meeting and they wanted me to do a demonstration. They asked me to shoot an apple off one of the manager's head. And I told them there wasn't a chance. So just like you're talking about equipment failing, I don't need to life in jail because a knock broke or something silly happened. And so,
there's nothing like a life sentence.
yeah, for a little demonstration. So.
You know, as far as endorsements are concerned, do you have your own signature bow or sights, arrows like that, or is that something that could become, reality in the future?
It could become reality in the future. It's kind of archery's been really funny, and you're starting to see a little more of it. It's kind of like a lot of respect that they have for other companies and different people and shooters, because they think if they come out with Reo Wilde arrows or Reo Wilde bows, they don't make other shooters mad. And they don't. It's really been a touchy situation, and they're starting to do more of it, but it's just slowly coming. So.
Yeah. I got a couple listener questions for you. One of them is, do you ever have just a feeling like today is going to be a great day, or vice versa? I just don't think I'm going to shoot good today.
I have had days, tournaments that I've gone to that have the weirdest feeling that I'm like, I'm going to win this thing, and it just I can't explain it why or anything like that. In fact, the first year I ever won the Vegas tournament, it was kind of funny because and I told my wife just before I went into the shoot-off, I said, I had the weirdest dream that I forgot to call and tell you I won the night before. And I woke up in the middle of the night just, oh my gosh, I forgot to call and tell her I won. I'm like, wait, we're not even done yet.
All right, how about this one? Do you teach archery as a side job?
A little bit. I've got so busy lately just traveling to tournaments that I've had to cut back a little bit on that. But I have helped some people out, so.
This is one kind of like what I asked earlier. It's kind of off the wall, but I have to ask you. Yeah. One of the listeners says, like the air ball when shooting a basketball, have you ever missed the target completely?
I have missed at my sight and missed the target before.
Did you ever hear somebody go, ah, like that after you did it?
No, I've done that. I pretty much squeal when that happens. It's like, oh.
What's coming up on your plate right now in the near future? What kind of tournaments you got going on?
I have the USA Archery Outdoor Nationals not this week, but next week. In fact, it's a really busy schedule, and I will go to Hamilton, Ohio for it. And I will turn and leave Hamilton to Medellin, Colombia. And I will be there for about a week for the World Archery World Cup, the third leg. And then I come home for 2 days, and I go back to Cali, Colombia for the World Team.
Speaking of that real quick, how much time do you spend at home as opposed to traveling now that you do this full time?
A lot less. It's tough. It's been nice because I've had about the last couple of weeks, so it's been really nice, but it's a lot less.
As far as social media, websites, or anything like that, you give our listeners where they some information on where they can go and check you out and learn more about you, what you're doing, what you're up to.
Yeah, I have my ReoWilde.com, and then I have a Twitter account, Reo Wilde. Plus, I have a Facebook fan page. I didn't know as much about social media, so I built just a page and started accepting all the friends and ran out of room. So I started me a fan page to kind of help grow that. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, any shout-outs to any family members or perhaps an old high school buddy?
No, not really. I mean, just my wife. She does, like I say, I'm gone a lot, and she does an amazing job taking care of everything she does and support me and being probably my biggest fan. So
Reo, man, we appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day to chat with us.
Yeah,
man.
It was a real honor to talk to you, man, and we'll make sure not to stand in front of your target for sure.
Yeah, we'll do. I appreciate it, sir.
The 25th Hour Radio Show.